Howdy. Today we are going to be showing you how to make a Dotwork pen machine using a rotary tattoo machine as well as some basic parts. Specifically, you're going to need regular ballpoint pen. The way that I'm going to show you, which I believe is a more effective way than using just a pen barrel, is you're going to need an alloy stainless steel tube, whatever the fuck you got. And then you're going to need two actual tubes by themselves. You're going to need this one here, going up to the machine, and then the smaller one is a little bit more of the important. Now these were originally the same length, but as you can see, you cut them down. But what's more important is this right here, if you can see it. In addition to the actual metal tube by itself, what I've done is that you go ahead, you take this apart, then take the ink shaft out, and then you're going to cut off this bit here. Throw this part away, save the tip, obviously. You're going to take this, and you're going to crimp it down into the metal shaft. That way, when your machine is running, just like in a conventional tattoo machine with needles, you don't want a whole lot of shake. If you weren't to have this plastic coupling, plastic collar in here, when you're working, it would be very bouncy. So this keeps it in place and gives you a more clean kind of dot work. So, go ahead, put these back together, and then really it's all dependent upon where you have your machine set as far as how far up or how far down these set tubes need to be. Just tighten it back up. Gonna take just the ink part, snip it down because it's going to be a little bit too long for your purposes. As you can tell, you might want to wear gloves when you're doing this shit. Then, that's kind of the catch with this bit, is that you always have to sort of do this sort of messy transition if you're swapping it out, or as you're working on a piece, as it's going up and down, the ink kind of separates in this strange manner, and it's at levels, so occasionally you kind of have to take it apart, blow some air in there, get it down, or just throw it away, use a new shaft. But slide that through your plastic collar bit, going up here. That's going to keep it in place. Now this is the loop to a needle bar that I've cut down a bit and thrown a grommet on. Now, I flattened this out just a little bit, so it's a little flared, if you will. And then put some super glue on it so it's a little bit wider than it was originally. Then you just shove it down into the ink barrel itself. Should be pretty tight. Doesn't have to be super tight, but. And the reason why you're using a rotary as opposed to a coil for these is primarily because you want a machine that can run at a really low voltage. Being that you're not going down into skin, you're only gliding on paper, you don't really need to hammer the fuck out of it. So you want something that starts up at a pretty low voltage. If you have a coil that starts at a really low voltage, that's cool. But for these, you're wanting to rock around 2.5 to 3 volts, because you really don't need much. Make sure everything's tightened down. If you don't have this sort of screw on your machine to keep the needle from bouncing around, then you are going to have to use rubber bands of some degree. You don't want to make it super tight, but you do want to have tension on it, just like a tattoo. Just like a tattoo needle. Sorry, getting over laryngitis, so it's kind of difficult to speak right now. But, so, you got it there. It's all set down. once you got it all set, then you just start tattooing paper, basically. And with these, you're not really wanting to press down super hard. You're just kind of wanting to sort of glide on top of the paper, just make minimal contact. And the lighter that you go on the paper, obviously, the lighter your shade will be.